To the conversation on Lagos television. At this moment, we'll be discussing politics as well as the law and the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended in 1999. We both know that the major opposition parties in the country, which is the PDP and the ADC, are presently facing different kind of crises, leadership crisis, and of course, the Federal High Court just yesterday did nullify the state congresses of the ADC, but the Supreme Court is expected to give judgment on the leadership crisis rocking the ADC and the APC today. That of the ADC has been slated for 2 p.m. We really do not know the time when the judgment on that of PDP will be given. So this morning, I have two gentlemen in the studio. They will be speaking to the judgment, that judgment which is expected from the Supreme Court of Nigeria today on the leadership crisis rocking the PDP and the ADC. They will also be speaking to the attitude of these opposition parties towards the 2027 general elections, and if indeed they are living up to their responsibilities as major political opposition in the country. We have right here with us Jide Ologun. Jide Ologun is a lawyer and a political affairs analyst. It's a pleasure to have you.
You're welcome.
And right beside me is Razak Olukoba, is also a public affairs analyst. It's a pleasure to have you as well.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Okay, so let's start from the angle of the law, Barrister Ologun. The Supreme Court is expected to give judgment today on that crisis rocking the leadership of the PDP and the ADC. And I'm sure that members of these political parties, as we speak, they have murdered sleep. And if they are going to sleep again, this judgment will be the one to decide. So what angle do you think the Supreme Court will be coming from in terms of judgment regarding this particular issue of ADC and PDP?
Thank you very much. I expect the Supreme Court to come from the angle of justice because, you know, this is not a matter that started in the Supreme Court by virtue of hierarchy. It's a matter that has been escalated to the Supreme Court, and since 1963, when we became a republic, Supreme Court is the highest court in the land. And one of the contentions we have right now, you know, you recall the pronouncement of the Court of Appeal that ADC should maintain status quo ante bellum, which has been interpreted by various stakeholders, and it's basically about the leadership tussle within ADC. And ADC, some factions of ADC, they've proceeded to have their Congress and to embark on some activities without paying due respect to the judicial intervention. And some of them leverage on the fact that Section 83 of the Electoral Act 2026 as amended says you should not interfere in the party affairs, family affairs. But from a recent order from the Federal High Court in Abuja by Justice Joyce Abdul-Malik that yes, the court can interfere when your actions are running contrary to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and of course the Constitution of your own party. And we must all realize that it's ADC that is taking ADC to court, because if you look at Section 223 of the Constitution of Nigeria 1999 as amended, it states clearly that the affairs of parties should be conducted in terms of prompting leadership in line with democratic processes, you know, and Section 23 of the ADC Constitution itself also mandates that things be done in orderly manner. And I personally advised ADC before now that you know, you need, if you have submitted to the jurisdiction of the court, you must be patient to let the court land before you start embarking. You cannot intimidate the court. I mean, at the end of the day, we have three arms of government: the executive, mandated by Section 5 of the Nigerian Constitution, the legislative, mandated by Section 4, and the judiciary, mandated by Section 6. So the judiciary will be the one to interpret. So irrespective of what you have done, and in resting my case, references were made to what happened in Zamfara State, what happened in Rivers State, where previous actions were nullified. And, you know, so we must respect the rule of law. And finally, Section 1 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended states that all institutions and individuals are subject to the provisions of that constitution. And that is what we refer to as the rule of law. So you cannot create your own and think that the judiciary can be intimidated. And I speak here without preempting what will happen today in the Supreme Court. But like I said, I expect justice because both sides will have to present their matters. And whatever decision is given today,
that's the final.
That is the final, because that's the highest court in the land for now.
So whether the Gombe faction or the David Mark faction is not pleased, the law is the law. And once the Supreme Court gives the judgment, that's final.
You know, rewinding in time, if you try to be before 1963, you could further appeal to the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council of the UK. But since 1963, you can only appeal to God, you know. And let me just advise that it's not mandatory you seek judicial interventions. There should be internal democratic mechanism to resolve your issues. Because right now, David Mark is saying that they are being pressured because of the timetable of INEC and everything. It's not another party swing your party. It's within your party. So you need the public relations acumen to be able to
manage a crisis,
embark on stakeholders' engagement and proactive crisis management. Almost all the major parties in Nigeria have their crisis. So, and you need to learn how to resolve your issues. The judiciary is is just like an umpire. If you don't go to the judiciary, they won't force you to come.
Okay, Razak, looking at the crisis rocking these political parties now, the ADC and the PDP, and like Barrister Ologun said, when you look at the INEC timetable, time is running out on ADC and PDP. So eventually, if this judgment is given today by the Supreme Court, do you see the ADC or the PDP putting their house in order in a way that they will be able to throw up some fights to the APC in 2027 elections?
Well, that's the most reasonable thing that they need
as an opposition.
Yes, they're supposed to have done earlier than now. You see, for some of us who felt that ADC is doing well, APC is doing well, it is not sufficient for us to say that opposition should be dead. But if you have this kind of position, and the opposition itself is becoming more reckless and irresponsible, it becomes a concern to you. Particularly when you have a follower, when you have followers that are also pretending not to be knowledgeable. When you see the followers of ADC and PDP saying that it is APC
that is sponsoring
that
the crisis
is persecuting them, you know, it becomes funny that are we watching cartoon? Is this a comic? Whereas there are moments when AD had issues in 2020,
APC. Okay.
In 2002. The civil society has always had a soft spot for ADC, ACN, APC, not because of anything, but because of the clause in their manifesto that they made, restructure Nigeria. So we see them as a party for the future. So that crisis, from outside, we try to wade in and told them the implication of what they are doing. And I think since that time, they work out a mechanism on how to resolve their crisis. ACN became one together, and they became what they become today. And that is what APC, PDP and AC should have done. Once you put up a party in place, the next thing you must do even before you have your INEC is who are the people whose words become law when they speak in the party.
Like the elders of the party?
Yes, you have to assemble them. Elders not in age, elders in terms of wisdom and experience in politics. That once they speak, that's the final. You have to first assemble them. That's missing PDP. That's missing ADC. There's such in APC. We thought after Buhari, that's the end of APC. But APC is rising strong today. So you now turn around to say that APC is your problem. It brings out one thing. The majority of political class in Nigeria do not have sufficient knowledge about knowledge. And that's why they always bring it to us to say that that is politics for you. Once anybody behaves untruthfully, behaves without being objective, behave without being transparent, and say, that's politics. And that's not politics. It is a definition of Nigerian politics. So flowing from this, no matter the judgment, the world will not come to an end. If he says this or that, it should become a lesson, not only even for ADC opinion, it's also a lesson for the APC. That, see, consistency matters a lot. Look at the history of who has become the president in Nigeria. They never left their party. Obasanjo never left his party. Yaradua and Jonathan together, they never left PDP. Buhari never left his party. He only emerged with another party. The same thing for Tinubu. You see, by now, one of them will have become a president if he had done what he says, that patience, and try to look at the implication of the action you are about to take. You want to decimate your party just because you want to become president. You know, Jonathan had to beg Atiku. Maybe he lacks being begged when he was younger. So he likes to be begged all the time. His president also begged him. Obasanjo also begged him for a second time. So he likes to be begged. So Jonathan also begged him and said that, and those begging always become his own albatross. Obasanjo begged him. And eventually he wrote a book about him. Now, Jonathan also begged him again. Maybe he's coming up with his own book about him again. So everybody in ADC are now also begging him now that, see, this thing we are dragging, if the end result is to play formidable opposition, don't contest too, but they have to go to court again. And also, it's funny, the diverse expense he has mentioned, one of the beneficiaries is now in ADC. So how do you now say that you have suddenly forgotten what made you the governor? When it now comes to being on the other side of the table, you now suddenly forget. So their matter is very complex and complicated. Nigeria should be focused. Okay. We need to hold our nation together. We are at a very sensitive period where I always say one thing, that what we don't have handing is influencing the way we live our life today. Iran issue is there on our neck. We don't know when it's going to end. And it's affecting the world of the world. And we don't know when or how we will be able to manage and come out of it. Okay. Then someone is also playing in politics that can aggravate tension in the country. We should not follow their path. Okay.
Yeah, Barrister Ologun. Razak mentioned something not quite long now, saying that the situation with which the ADC and the PDP they have found themselves is quite complex. But for me, that of the ADC seemed to be more complex. If the Supreme Court should give the judgment today, and it's in favor of Gombe or David Mark, there is another case pending before the Federal High Court, which nullified state congresses of the party. So where would they go from here? And are you sure their names or the name of the party will not be missing on the ballot box come 2027 elections?
It's up to them. You know, I mentioned something earlier. The judiciary will not force you to come to court. Even when matters are on in court, before the trial, most times, the judge can still appeal, looking at the facts of the case. That can you people go for, in Lagos we call it multi-door court. Can you go and resolve your issues so that you give us more time to focus on trials here? And if you go there and you mediate and agree, then you come back and make it, let the Honorable Justice endorse. So if by tomorrow morning, all the factions of ADC pull out of the judicial space and come together to meet, then they can still be relevant. But if they continue, then they will be endorsing their fear that external forces are trying to scatter the party. And the elders have a saying that if the wall does not crack, the lizard may not be able to come in, except that in the contemporary time, if you open your door, even if your wall is not cracked, the lizard can still come in. And the advice I want to give them is an advice of retrospect. Honorable Rasak mentioned the case of AD and those who have held their party strongly. Look at when APC came up. It was in 2013 as a formidable opposition. You had the splinter from APGA, the new PDP, the CPC, all of them coming together. And when it came to the issue of leadership, the leadership of APC was not driven in the helicopter of desperation. Yes, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu was a prominent figure, an arrowhead.
National leader.
Yes, in congregating that opposition party. But he did not say, I must be the president.
He gave it up.
They met, structured the message. Oh, we are tired of corruption. We are tired of corruption. Change, change. And they found a man who could run and fit into the template of that message. And it was a Buhari in CPC. Buhari was not even, he was almost no longer interested. But he was persuaded, taken to UK to give a lecture and, politics. And even in 2019, Asiwaju did not say, I must wrestle power from. In fact, with all the perceived insults thrown at Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, when the 2019 election was approaching, Buhari approached him to go and reconcile the aggrieved stakeholders within the party. He agreed until 2023 Emilokan. So in politics, and look at the same synchronizing tactic, let me call it tactic, is working for APC now. Because what has this man done to make about 32 governors out of the 36 governors in Nigeria to be in APC? I mean, we need to study that as political scientists. You see, it's about stakeholders' engagement. You see, it's not by fighting and everything. You can see now, even in Labour Party, they have their issues. The new leader, as pronounced by the court, is even saying Peter Obi cannot even return, that they won't even open the door for him. So you see people moving, and there is what we call perception in public relations. So for some of the electorates now, they are even confused because there are three levels of interest in politics. You talk about national interest, you talk about party interest, you talk about personal interest. So for some of these political leaders and aspirants, they are perceived as being primarily driven by their personal interest. That is why they can dump one party, jump to another one, and it doesn't speak well. So what are we advised now is that electorates also should begin to galvanize, because some of us are still focusing on issues. And we are advising even the ruling party with all the bloated, defection-driven representation politically to look out of the window and look at the people. What are they going through? And I think I have I want to keep the gate for my president this morning. A thought that came to my mind, because I understand it's as if the fuel price may start going up again due to some developments in the global environment. That he should not let what happened during COVID-19 happen in Nigeria. I'm glad he's now driving an intervention in the aviation sector, that, okay, let's see how we can. And of course, it's natural for me, because that is how the big people travel in Nigeria. So if that one crashes, they are all in trouble because they are afraid to travel by road. Can you look at how to ameliorate the sufferings of the people? Otherwise, I have noticed that many people can no longer move freely now. So they stay at home, and that was what led to the EndSARS protests. People they were held together in their communities, they started relating, they started bonding, and before we knew it, it was, let's challenge this government. So that, what can you also do? Is it that more crude is released to Dangote, interventions that will scale down the cost of living? Otherwise, the same people may rise up and say, it's not even election that is our challenge. So we are just keeping the gate because we want Nigeria to be great, because the predictions of scientists is coming, particularly with respect to Nigeria, is that perhaps there are just 3 years in a single term for any leader, because now it's all about 2027 and we are still in
2026.
April. We are even in April 2026 now. So where is the governance aspect? So those are my concerns. But I hope that, like Honorable Rasak mentioned, that ADC and this opposition party will learn. And again, they are all coming together now to form a big coalition. So whether they will be able to present credible leaders for elections within the confines of the timetable of INEC. is what I cannot really speak to.
Okay, Razak, this opposition had an opposition summit in Ibadan, and wherein they all agreed that they are going to field a single presidential candidate for the 2027 general elections. Do you see them having this political maturity that is enough for them to actually come together as one and indeed present a single presidential candidate to challenge Mr. President in 2027?
It will crumble again. And that's what crumbles all coalitions, save and except for the APC. If you are not bonded together by any ideology, the organization is living on a borrowed time. You did not spell out.
They are bonded together by the ideology of hunger. They said they are hungry and Nigerians are hungry.
They are not hungry.
That's not ideology. That's not ideology. That's issues.
Okay.
Insecurity, sector, these are issues. It's the ideology that will give you the roadmap, how to get out of it. Then an economy where the factor of production will be in the hand of the people, capitalism, where your capacity as a producer is what determines the drive of the economy. That's one. Either the government will be the factor of production like what we have in communist and socialist country. So you must be able to define it that this is, we look at FPN. FPN is democratic socialism. He said there must be welfare for the people. Whereas the control of things should be 50-50 in the hand of the people and the hand of the government. Like I say, no, this is pure capitalism. You see, when you have that kind of ideology that binds you together, then you set out how to come out of it. So that when there are issues, you remember the ideology that binds you together. That, no, let's look at it this way. But when you are banded together because of Tinubu, at the moment Tinubu wins in 2027, that coalition collapse again. And that's what I'm saying in them. And again, all of them are not willing, like I said. All of them are not willing to do what is necessary.
Well, what
are the prices? What are the prices?
What if Atiku is ready to drop his ambition for Peter?
Maybe this morning, maybe we change this morning. But at yesterday, we have not changed. Maybe this morning after the joint, maybe you will change. Is he desperate to become that he wants to become the president? Obi is also desperate that he wants to become the president. Kwankwaso is desperate. The PDP remnant also they are their ugly head again that they want to become president. So this inordinate ambition is the greatest challenge they have. In fact, Nigerians don't have option. That's why they gravitate towards them. That we just don't want certain people again. That is the kind of sentiment that drives change of power in Nigeria. It's not ideologically based. We got angry with Obasanjo that time that Obasanjo is the eventually PDP won again. When it was Jonathan again, we were all angry that Buhari was coming. Now, Tinubu came. That is why I want to talk to Nigerians that, see, let's see what the current government is not doing well. But I'm beginning to talk to them about it. He has mentioned one, this whole question of insecurity, which is actually the road path that led to economic challenge that we have. He has given the IG a mandate. And the IG told us it's 60 months. That 60 months is too much. You need to address it. That no, you can't do a state police in 6 months. In fact, it's not up to the IG to work out state police. It's the governors that will say my state is going to take me 5 months. So
and the National Assembly to amend the Constitutional
Assembly. So let's look at what the president can do quickly before the year runs, and in terms of how to quickly give people hope. You see, when the hope has not landed, and the hope is actually an hope, it will simmer down. Don't leave explanation to opposition to be doing for you. Opposition will not explain what you are up to correctly to the people. They will misinterpret it. Explain things yourself. Engage people who are public intervention, people who talk to people, organizations, civil society, to be able to explain to Nigerians, because I know the government is up to something. And what they are up to is in the interest of Nigeria. But because people don't seem to understand what they are doing. For instance, just imagine in our mind, if there's no Dangote with this crisis, we are in a big trouble. So all those are factors that you use to appeal to Nigerian sentiment that we are doing things. Because like I said, there's hunger in the land. It's only few of us who actually understand that, oh, it can't be 4 years. Smile can't come in 4 years. When you're going to the hospital for a surgery, not you, God forbid bad thing. There'll be some member of the family that will tell you that that story doesn't come with a pain. They are just giving him a hope that don't worry. But they be member of the family that is going to be painful. That is where we belong to. That what you are passing through is going to be painful. See, when you have expectation that there's going to be pain in this exercise, you brace up for it. But when you keep saying that there's no... So let's encourage the government, particularly Mr. President, to come out now. Not leave some of this to the government. The government has their own political calculation in their head. Some governors are going, they are looking at how to bring somebody back again. So they will not explain to Nigerians what you are actually doing. So roll out, the way you roll out your political party, the way you roll out the civil society and non-governmental organization to actually help Nigerians dissect you that, oh, this is the direction I'll go. And as for opposition, like I said again, and again, like I said earlier, it is time for them to play opposition. Let them sit down, some political scientists, to explain their role to them. If they didn't listen to INEC, because INEC might have explained to them that in this election, you might win, you might also lose. This is how to manage it when you lose. Maybe they didn't listen. They don't want to hear anything about loss. The moment they lose that election, that country Nigeria must break down. And that's been the pattern since 1999. When Awo was the opposition, Awo will criticize
objectively
government policy, and he will say, in view of that, this is what you are supposed to do. That's what we expect from them. They will want to remove subsidy. The moment they lose that election, they turn that subsidy into a weapon again. They will want to tow a particular terrain. Then the moment they lose, the expected challenge that is supposed to come from that policy, they will not pretend as if it were them. That pay wouldn't have come. That's not position.
Okay. All right, Barrister Ologun, as we begin to wind down now, if the ADC and the PDP are able to harmonize their ideologies together and, of course, form a formidable force to challenge the APC, do you see them making any impact in 2027? And would that also trigger the ruling party to sit up and face the business of the day?
Thank you very much. I think with or without opposition, I'm advising the ruling party to sit up and go back to Section 14, subsection 2 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, that says that the security and the welfare of the citizens shall be the primary purpose of government. And if you can leverage on that and deliver, then the opposition will have more work to do in throwing you out of that space. And that is part one. Part B is that presuming that INEC will be truly independent, it's a dicey situation. People, particularly the majority of the citizens, are not so happy with the symptoms of the reforms and the external shocks we are having economically and socially in the country, which should have even been a very good mixture for the opposition, but the opposition remains unorganized right now, because at the end of the day, it should be about legacy. Then the part C of it is about the electorate. I have understudied the political space in Nigeria. There are professional voters who are not driven by ideology, but are driven by loyalty to their party. So, and which party has that widespread net in terms of structure? You can answer that question. So those are the issues. But for a Jide Ologun sitting down here, I want to see Nigeria make progress and visibly relocate from the league of poor countries and be, established in the league of prospering countries. And the political processes we are talking about is just like an access to that desired recognition for Nigeria. So don't let us put all our attention on voting, party processing. How do we maximize the resources of Nigeria for creating commonwealth for common good? And on that note, I hope our leaders are listening, because if you look at the opposition, quite a number of those who are now driving the opposition, they've been in this other side also.
Before.
During Jonathan, PDP was dominating the political space. And I doubt if anybody shouted about one party state then. So that is about politicians. They swing where their fortunes appear to be shining brighter. So if by tomorrow, I don't know where the pendulum will swing, the pendulum swings another party, almost all those who have defected to APC now, they will find one reason to defect to those parties. And the National Assembly that is mandated by Section 4 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended to make laws for the peace, orderliness, and good government in Nigeria should also be, warming up to amend our laws to prevent these free defections that we are beginning to witness on the part of the governors. There are even no provisions stopping them or, preventing them, so to say. For legislators, there are provisions, but there are several excuses that they give, like the crisis in the party, so that we tighten the space so that the attention can shift to service through governance and not politicking through governance.
Okay, Razak. So at the end of today, we're expecting the Supreme Court to give judgment on the leadership crisis rocking the ADC and the PDP. So if the judgment is in favor of David Matlek, ESCO of ADC, do you see the likes of Gombe working with him and Kachuku? And on the other side, do you see Makinde and Wike also working together, no matter where the victory of a pendulum swings at the end of the day?
My sincere advice is to start preparing for 2031.
We are still in 2026.
Yeah, that's my sincere advice. I don't see them coming out of this crisis. They have taken a true parallel line. Both PDP crisis and ADC crisis, they can't meet. They can't resolve it. Even if you give them from now till another 4 years to do so. So for me, and they should learn from the lesson of what they have done now. My interpretation of Atiku is that it's not actually looking at 2027. It's looking at 2031.
At what age?
At what age? My profession is to understudy people, political scientists. We study societies. I have looked at each candidate one after the other. In his own mind, he knows he can't defeat Tinubu. He knows in his mind. And from what I've concluded about him, he's not willing to. It's not. He knows that he may not likely win this election. And to that extent, he's making preparation for 2031. I want to ensure that all other people who are partakers in the process are suppressed, not directly, but indirectly. You can see his hand in PDP. He may also have a hand in labor crisis, instead of people looking in the wrong direction that is Tinubu. And the way he has also trying to privatize ADC, which backfires now, is also to his own joy. So that thing, the entire political process of opposition will crumble. It will give way to Ashwaju, so that by that time, when the man emerges for the second time, we then put all his arts, everything he has in his life into it to ensure that he emerges as president. Because that sentiment of, the North 8 years, the South 8 years will have been over. It should be clear by the arrangement, or written arrangement, that the South has had their own time. It's time for the North. So they can't come out of it.
Okay. All right.
Atiku is preparing for 2031. Look at him very well. It's not looking for. No. We have to ask him that question.
At what age?
We need to ask him that question. It's not my opinion. It's what I've concluded about him.
All right.
Based on my observation.
We'll be waiting for the judgment of the Supreme Court on the crisis rocking the PDP and the ADC, and hopefully we'll see where the pendulum of victory will swing at the end of the day, and if the oppositions will be strong enough to challenge the ruling party for its money in 2027 elections. Interesting conversation this morning with Barrister Jide Ologun. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
And of course, Razak Olukoba, thank you for coming as well.
Thank you for having me.
We'll take a break at this time. When we come back, Adebimpe Joy are already standing by to take you through their conversation on Conversation Lagos.
The views expressed on this program do not represent that of the producer, management of Lagos Television, or the Lagos State Government. They remain the perspectives of those expressing them. Thank you for staying with Lagos Television.